Old Guy Gaming here, back again with another MTG Arena video, and tonight's going to be something a little bit different as we discuss the state of the beta August 2019 article from Wizards of the Coast. So rarely, due to my recording schedule, do I get the opportunity to talk about breaking news as it happens, because I usually record the week before, and by the time news breaks, I don't get to actually talk about it. But I was really lazy this week, and to my benefit, thankfully, because I got the opportunity to come home from work today and read over this article from Wizards of the Coast, which I'll drop a link in the description down below, to discussing the state of the beta, which is going to cover things like rotation of new sets, some new events that are coming up to help celebrate and bring in Throne of Eldraine into Standard, and last but not least, a lot more information on the historic format, which is something that really interests me. So let's go ahead and kind of take a look at the article itself. I'm going to try not to read the entire article to you, but let's kind of go over some basics. So I know there's a lot of folks that are new to Magic and new to the idea of what rotation is. So that's the first thing that they cover. So if you are new to Magic or new to this concept of what standard or rotating sets are like, this is exactly how it's going to work. When Throne of Eldraine releases in September, which we'll get a date here in a moment, we'll talk about, there are 4 sets that are going to be no longer standard legal, meaning whenever you're participating in events, just your standard ladder play, things like that, you will not be able to play with cards from those sets. They rotate out of standard to take those cards out of the pool of cards that you can play with to make room for the new sets that are coming in. So this basically is a great visual on how standard's going to work, and this gives you what's going to be left over for the new standard whenever Throne of Eldraine lifts off. However, those cards are not leaving Arena. They are going to be still available in a format called Historic, which we'll get to here in a little bit, giving you some more information on what you can do with those old cards. So this is something like one of the things they wanted to make sure that they were aware of when going through. Those of you that may have been part of the closed beta, I myself was part of the closed beta, whenever they had a rotation before, which rotated out the sets from the Amonkhet set, Hour of Devastation. What were the other 2 sets? We lost. Oh, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But we lost those 4. We lost those 4. Oh, and the Aether Revolt and Kaladesh blocks. We lost all 4 of those sets whenever they opened up with the open beta. I mean, it's called an open beta, but they're running tournaments off of it. Is it really an open beta? I don't know. My point being, so whenever they opened us, for all of us that were in the closed beta set, they wiped everyone's accounts clean. Any money that you put into it, gems that you had spent, was refunded to you, but all of the gold and all the cards that you had were completely wiped out. That is not going to happen when rotation happens on September 26th. What is going to happen, and they clearly lay that out right here, so your cards will still be available to play in non-standard formats, which is interesting to me. When Arena was first released and built, it was billed as playing standard and standard only, and it's interesting to me as we go further through the rabbit hole of what they intend to do with the historic format, what's coming down the pike, because they have clearly had a shift in thought process and a paradigm shift on what they intend to do with Arena, which, if you look at older videos of mine, I sort of semi-predicted. This leads us into historic play, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. So let's kind of move into, so Throne of Eldraine's coming September 26th. What's going to happen? So this gets into the Renewal of Rewards part of this. So they're going to be running these events from September 9th to September 26th to kind of help everyone finish their Core Set 2020 Mastery Pass. So they're going to run these events where if you get 2 consecutive wins in a row, that's 200 XP. And it's 200 XP for each additional consecutive win with no limit. There's no cap limit. So as long as you have a deck that does reasonably well, has a good, 60, 70%, you could just sit there and grind out the rest of the XP to get you to level 100 and complete your Core Mastery Pass. That's kind of interesting. I was kind of curious because if you sat down and did the math, if you missed a couple of days here and there, you weren't capable, even with the special events, even with the bonus codes that they released, you weren't able to hit level 100, and I was curious as to how they were going to polish that off. And this is now a clear definition. This is actually starting next weekend at the time of this recording. I'm obviously recording this on Thursday. You're seeing this on Friday. Once Throne of Eldraine releases, you're going to be getting some weird little rewards. As long as you have logged into MTG Arena prior to September 26th, at least once, you're going to get a starting collection of 10 individual rare and or mythic cards for free. Now, I'm assuming that that is going to be from the new Throne of Eldraine set, but they could just be randomly generated cards. I don't know that they intentionally went through all of that. So it's 10 rare higher mythic cards, in-game cards from standard 2020 sets. So this is not just Throne of Eldraine. You are going to end up with possibilities from M20, go all the way through the Ravnica, Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Legions, War of the Spark, Core Set 2020, and then so you might end up with cards from any one of those sets. The upside to this is no Mastery Pass is required to get this. So if you didn't pay for the Mastery Pass and chose not to go down that route, which is fine, you still get these rewards just for logging in. That's really cool to kind of help out getting your collection started in the new standard. If you do decide to buy the Throne of Eldraine Mastery set, which I probably do, and you're going to get the first levels 1 to 25 are going to be a huge jumpstart to getting you in. Now, if you decide not to go with the Renewal Rewards, you're going to end up with 12 packs of Throne of Eldraine and 2 Mastery Orbs. If you go with the Mastery Pass, you're going to end up with 2 additional Throne of Eldraine packs. You're going to end up with 4 additional packs. I don't know whenever they put this out as Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, or the Spark and M20s, at one of each. And then 10 uncommon individual card awards. So I'm all about free stuff. Yay, thank you, Wizards. Do appreciate that. I do wish that these were rare cards and not uncommons. I have like 100 uncommon wild cards. Uncommon wild cards and common wild cards are super easy to come by. I'm not disagreeing that if someone were to get started in the game, starting with Throne of Eldraine, this would be a good starting point for them. But there's a lot of us out there who are vets who have been doing this for a little bit, that reward isn't as much as you would have hoped, but it's free. So, I mean, you can't really complain about free stuff. So basically, you log in your first 25 levels. This is the stuff that you can earn if you have the Mastery Pass. So all of this positive. Absolutely think this is fantastic. There are events starting September 9th. They will be holding standard 2020 events to help you get ready for new standard. This will help get, these will be Guilds of Ravnica moving forward. So all of those rotation-proof decks that not only I've been putting out, but every other YouTube content creator has been putting out, those will be perfect to play in these events because Throne of Eldraine will not have been released yet, and you're still playing in the rotation-proof decks. So you're playing with those decks that can use it. So if you're looking for a deck to play in those events, check back in some of the older videos that I have or some of the other great content creators out there, They've got some great ones that you can try to build relatively for decent prices as far as wildcards are concerned, and you can play in these events. Keep playing in these events until September 26th to earn as much XP as possible. These events will have no entry fee. Love that. Keep that up, Wizards. And they will also have best of ones ranks and best of threes as well. Every 2 consecutive wins that you record with an XP Mastery Pass, 200 XP, as many times as you like. That is amazing. Basically, they lay it out. Play as many times as you like. So for all of us that were making those complaints, when the Master Pass was originally launched and everyone was like, if you didn't play every single day, you weren't ever going to hit level 100. They did correct that. They course corrected that a couple of weeks later, which I had a video on as well. And even this, you still have those weekend warriors that are like, well, I don't get it. Like, I work a 9 to 5, I work a night shift, I have kids, I'm married, I don't have, the opportunity to sit down and play every day during the week. I'm never going to catch up. I'm only a weekend warrior, I only play on Saturday nights, and that's the only time I get a chance to play. This will give you that opportunity to go through and get as much experience as possible to earn all those rewards on the way through. So all of this positive. Great job. Trying to see if there's anything else I missed on this one. So this is where the fun continues through. Historic. So when they originally announced the historic format, so for those of you who aren't aware, what the historic format is going to be is a brand new format to Magic the Gathering. It has not existed before. Current formats include things like, obviously Standard, which you've been playing if you've been playing MTG Arena. You've got Modern, which starts from the 8th edition of Magic the Gathering moving forward. Every card, every set, all of that is open. You also have sets like, formats like Commander and Pauper. You've got Brawl, which we also know is coming to MTG Arena as well. And this is a new format, Historic, which is starting currently. The way that it was announced will be starting with what am I thinking? Ixalan. The Ixalan set will start from the Ixalan block and move forward. But they've made some changes to this. So let's go into the couple of the changes. First and foremost, they wanted to make sure that the historic format felt distinct and different, not just old standard with new cards. They wanted to make it competitive, making sure that there were ranked abilities, meaning you can get to a mythic rank in historic, which is important because those mythic ranks earn you spots on the Pro Tour if you really want to go down that route. And they wanted to have that long time balance for the long term. So here's the bullet points. Bullet point number 1, how can Historic provide fun, unique digital experience and doesn't feel like old standards? Well, the answer to this question is adding new cards to Historic may seem rather obvious, but they've landed on an awesome way to do this in the digital playground by growing the catalog. What they intend to do is pretty groundbreaking. I actually really like this. They're going to add cards, 15 to 20 cards at a clip per quarter from all of Magic's history. They don't have to have been cards that were in a previous standard. Like, they're not talking about like necessarily the Amonkhet and Kaladesh blocks. They could go back to the Mirage blocks, the Meridian block, the Masks, Mercadi's Masks block, like the Onslaught block. They could go back all throughout Magic's history and bring cards into this format, making this format extraordinarily unique. In that with Modern, for example, if it's 8th edition moving forward was ever printed in 8th edition moving forward, it's legal. You can just kind of trace the lineage back. When was this card printed? It's legal for Modern. This is something completely different. If they, let's just say for sake of argument, that they were to add 15 or 20 cards and they added those from an old set like Ice Age. Let's just I'm throwing one out there just for an example. That is pre-Modern, that is pre anything else. That would be really cool to bring some. I don't think they're going to go that far back, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I don't think they're going to go that far back. I think what's going to end up happening, there were rumors. I was not in the alpha testing. I did not get to see it. I only got to see the tail end of closed beta. But there were rumors that in the original alpha test of the game, it was the Shadows over Innistrad block. So you had Shadows over Innistrad and you had Eldritch Moon, and that those cards are still technically programmed into Arena. They've just not been unlocked. So what if they took 15 or 20 cards from the Shadows over Innistrads and Eldritch Moon blocks and added those into Historic? That would be a really cool format. So not only did you have cards going back from Ixalan forward, but then you have these additional 15 or 20 cards that could really shake it up because they're cards that weren't in that standard at the time in Arena. So there's a lot of cool possibilities. And they have committed to doing this every quarter. Now, I don't know how they're going to do this. The delivery on this is what I'm really curious about. Because I don't know if they're going to do these in booster packs. Like, if it's only 15 or 20 cards, am I going to have to spend gems to get those cards? Am I going to have to spend gold to get those cards? Is it going to be one booster pack that says, here's all the cards, and then you can go and craft them? I don't know how that's going to work. And crafting's going to be a big thing. We're going to get to that in a moment. But this is intriguing to me. It's intriguing to me to see that they're going to be bringing older cards from other sets that weren't necessarily doing it. And what I do love is I do love the admission as to why they couldn't do full sets. And they even say it's, speaking candidly, the development time to acquire and add hundreds of cards from older sets, knowing that only a few may have a positive impact on the historic format, would be too much time to commit honestly to the organization. So I totally understand that. But adding 15 or 20 cards, that I can see. So I think slowly but surely we could see older sets coming in chunks of 15 to 20 cards at a piece to add some spice to the new historic format. So totally agree with this. Totally think it's fun. I'm curious as to how this is going to be executed and how they intend to do that. What I don't want to see is, yeah, you can do this. It's 10,000 gems to buy 20 cards. Please don't do that because it's ludicrous. What you should be able to do is you should be able to crack these up as like in-game reward cards or something along those lines. Like you should be able to reward players playing in the historic format to earn those, even if it's through a different tree. Like they have a mastery pass right now. You should be able to put your orbs in historic cards and be able to pull those cards out or something along those lines. But don't put these cool cards you're going to add behind a huge paywall. I'm okay with a small one. I would prefer if they did it would be with gold so that it's open to the free-to-play players as well. That would be a great way to be able to pull this off. If you're going to put it behind a paywall, at least put it behind gold and not gems. So Moving on to bullet point number 2, how do they keep it competitive? Well, instead of just having best of one like they originally announced it was going to be, Historic is going to have ranked, best of one, best of threes. They're also going to do historic drafts, and they're going to do a historic only oriented events once a month. They're going to keep the format alive. This is fantastic. If you're going to break into a new format in MTG Arena only, because it is an arena only format, I need to kind of make that kind of clear. My honest perceptions of this is a format that most everyone already knows is very similar to how Pauper came into being. Pauper came into being on the MTGO, the Magic the Gathering Online community, with a whole bunch of players who just wanted to use common cards instead of spending exorbitant amount of money to go from the older sets moving forward, so they just played with common cards that were cheap and easy to come up with. And hence this whole format was born out of an online community that is now seeing support and love from Wizards of the Coast as official events. I would love to see Historic do the same thing. Simply because, like, modern super, it can be. That's super subjective. I'll retract that immediately. Modern can be super expensive to get into if you want to get into the competitive sides of Modern. You can build Modern decks for $60. That if you're never going to compete in Modern, it doesn't matter. I genuinely, honestly feel that at some point in time, Historic will be a new paper format as well, which is why these little 15 to 20 card blocks that are going to be added to it are going to add something new. It's something different than Modern, especially if you're burned out in Modern. There are some players that build decks in Modern. This is one of the other things I got to bring up for bringing those cards in. The reason for doing some of those 15 to 20 card blocks is to try to prevent people from the format from feeling stale. So let's say, for example, I like my Teferi deck. I like my Teferi Nexus deck in best of 3. It never loses. I'm going to play that deck forever. So I have all the cards. I don't have to spend any wild cards in it. I'm just going to play in all the... How do you get a player out of that mindset? How do you shake up the meta when, unless it's a new card that comes out in a later set to help break that off, how do you do that? Simple. You add cards that weren't there before into the set. So you add these 15 or 20 cards, toss them into the meta like a grenade, and see what happens. See how it blows up the format. Not necessarily blows up the format, but at least blows up the decks in that format so that it isn't a stale format. So you add that in with the competitive ranks that you can put into this. That's going to be rank play, rank best of 3. I love all of this. Everything that they're doing here, I completely enjoy. My plan, for the record, once Historic Formats comes out, is to do 1 video a week. So I do 3 a week normally. 1 video a week or 1 video every other week will be dedicated strictly to the Historic format and playing in Historic events. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of that. Is that something that you're interested in? Is that something that you want to be doing in the Historic format? Let me know. All right. So now I've talked. Let's get to this one, and this is the one that's a little bit of a sour note for me. So everything that they have said up until this point, I have been 100% supportive of. I think they're doing a great thing with everything they've done, with how they're going to do these events, how they're going to launch Throne of Eldraine, how they're going to keep people interested in the game, and how they're going to keep Historic alive and vibrant. And then they do this. So and I have to read this verbatim. I apologize for reading the article to you because I don't know any other way to go through it. How they're going to they're changing how wild cards are going to work with Historic cards. We're changing how how wild cards work for Historic cards. Starting after the update in November, crafting Historic cards will require you to redeem 2 wild cards of the appropriate rarity instead of 1. Wizards, what are you doing? So imagine, if you will, you are a new player coming into the game. What this means is any card that you want to buy that isn't in a set that's currently in Standard and you want to craft, you have to spend twice as much. Hey, there's 24 dual lands out there that you need to at least participate well and competitively in the Historic format, but you're going to need 48 wild cards to do it. This is insanity. I don't understand what they're doing. It's assigning a value to older sets that isn't there. There's no in-game intrinsic value to the cards. This isn't like Magic the Gathering Online. I can't sell these cards. So to push, like, a wild card should be a wild card, whether or not it is purchased using a Throne of Eldraine rare or if it's going to be used for an Amonkhet rare. Like, I don't understand. And what I'm afraid that this is going to do is this is going to price the format out of the casual player's hands. I'm a new player. I'm a free-to-play player. I don't want to put any money into Arena. I want to have fun playing the game without spending any money. It's totally doable in the standard format. If I want to go back and play Historic, I have to double up on the amount of gold that I'm doing to buy packs, to get wild cards, to spend 2 wild cards for every rare that I need or mythic that I need from this set. This, to me, has a danger of crippling this format before it's even gotten off the ground. I don't understand this decision. I don't get what benefit this has to the Historic format. Why would you do this? It baffles me. So, for the record, you're going to be able to keep a 1-to-1 rate up until that November update, but after that, it's gone. And then it gets kind of worse, because they're going to pull individual, at least from the way that I'm reading this. If I'm wrong, drop a comment down below, let me know that I'm wrong. But it seems to me that they're going to drop individual pack sales off of the store altogether, and that if you want to buy packs from older sets, you have to do it in 45 card back bundles. Well, currently, the only way to buy 45 pack bundles is using gems. So you're going to make players have to spend real money, real cash, to buy real gems to buy historic packs to play in this format. No, 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 no. You are putting this format behind a paywall, and I don't agree with that. This is one misstep on this whole thing that I feel is a huge mistake. If they want this format to succeed, you don't put it behind such an exorbitant paywall to be able to do this. If I'm wrong, someone let me know in the comments down below, but I don't see how this is benefit. I don't see the benefit of doing this. But it gets worse. There's one other spot in here, I'll have to see where I can find it in the article, where they were talking about, because there are certain cards, for example, that they reprint with every other couple of sets. And I think the example that they used was Luminous Bonds. So Luminous Bonds is currently rotating out in one set that is going to go into Historic, but is staying in the current, a current standard set in Standard. Well, if you want to buy the Historic one, it's going to cost you 2 common cards. Whereas if you buy the one in the Standard one, it's going to cost you 1. But both are playable in the Historic format. So I don't understand the difference. Like, if I'm going to have a shock from 2019 and a shock from 2020, why do I have to pay 2 wild cards for that one and 1 for that one? It makes no sense to me. So I don't know. This is the one thing that I do not agree with. I vehemently disagree with this. And my hope is that there's going to be enough content creators on YouTube that are complaining about it. Enough of you are writing into them on their Twitter account and their Facebook account going, guys, what are you doing? That they do a 180 on this one, similar to what they did with the Mastery Pass, going, oh, wait, I didn't realize how bad of an idea that was. Because if it's a format that you want to support, I don't understand putting it behind a paywall like this. I just don't get it. So, I don't know. This is the one thing that kind of concerns me. Again, just to flatten the rest of this article out, just to make sure we're on the same page, they're going to do a bundle similar to what they did before. I like how they have the little redacted here, but basically for $50 US, you're going to get 50 packs, which I always feel is a good deal. I always end up doing it. You're going to end up with some special artwork card, but they haven't announced what that is, and probably a sleeve or something along those lines. But here's how the roadmap's going to go. So from September 26th, the sets from Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan's Dominaria, and Corset 19 will rotate out of Standard and will then be relegated to the Historic format. Players will start being able to play with rotated cards in best of 1 play in queue for direct challenges. Direct challenges, I forgot to mention that direct challenges, there's no format for direct challenges. You can play Historic for direct challenges. And you can continue to craft wild cards at a 1-to-1 rate for Historic cards if you want them. You will also be able to buy the 45 pack bundles and the buy a box promo for older sets, but those are all other pack options will be removed. Do not understand that one. In November, we'll fully introduce the Historic format, which is going to include the events, which is going to include the ranked ladder and all of that stuff. You will get these 15 to 20 cards that will be added to MTG Arena for Historic play. I don't know how they're going to do that. Is it going to be an arena only set? I did call that one, by the way. If that is what they end up doing and they put it in an arena only set by reprinting them in an arena only set, that would be, I called it. I'm just saying, you heard it here. They will start their specific historic events in November and additional historic events at least once a month, and crafting will happen at a 2-to-1 rate for historic cards. Starting in December, we'll start getting historic rank play and traditional ranked queues, things along those lines. This is where we're going to start getting constructed rank. All of this stuff's going to come in December. And then every quarter post-November 2019, we're going to get additional cards. We're going to get additional historic events and can continue on with ranked play. So that's it. That's the article. Again, I dropped a link in the comments in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Overall, like I said, until we get to that third bullet point, I'm all for it. I mean, admittedly, I am a bit of a, I'm sorry for scrolling back on this, right? I am a bit of a Wizards of the Coast fanboy, and 9 times out of 10, I'm super supportive of what they do and kind of see what they're going with, but every once in a while, you're going to get me on one that I'm like, I don't see that one. I do not agree with that one. I don't see the benefits for what they're doing for the historic format. I feel like they're going to cripple it at the onset of the set, or the format, which is just a bad idea altogether. Like, you want people to go into it, so why would you do this? Especially with Brawl coming. How's it going to work with Brawl whenever the top commander in Brawl, for example, is a mythic from the Amonkhet set? Let's just say, for example, they go that far back. We'll say Ixalan, just because it's a set that we know that's going to be there. So it's a mythic from the Amonkhet set, and it's one of the better Brawl decks. But I've got to, or is Brawl? That's right. Brawl's only going to be standard, so that's not going to work. But I wonder if they're going to integrate some sort of like Brawl, historic Brawl, something along those lines. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I did have a Mardu Aristocrats deck that I was going to put in for this one. I was going to upload that and go to bed, but no, this happened. I wanted to record this one and get this one out first. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next video, guys, we shall see you in the arena. This video was brought to you in no small part by our patrons. If you would like to help out the channel, go to www.patreon.com/oldguygamingmtga. And thank you for your support.